Zach Langdon, mate, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me, Lockie. It's like I said just off air, I've listened to a couple of episodes on the potty already, and stoked to be on board, mate. So thanks for having me.
And I love watching your content, one, because you make me want to run faster, and you just ripped as at the moment as well. So it's cool to follow. But you played footy at the top level, and for those listening in the States and everywhere else, we're referring footy as AFL for this episode. So not rugby, not rugby league or soccer. It's AFL, the one where they're playing on the round pitch and insane athletes. Like, it's the most wild game of all time. But so you played AFL at the top level. I'd love to hear a bit more about your journey getting into the big leagues and what it took, and I'll ask some questions along the way.
Yeah, beautiful. I suppose obviously, a lot different to footy in America. So AFL, for all the Aussie listeners, is our, I suppose, game in Australia. But I grew up playing obviously AFL in a small country town north of WA, and I decided to move down to Perth, which is a massive move for me. Not as big as the States move.
Mate, Perth is a good spot. We were there earlier this year. I think it was this year. Yeah, at some point, yeah.
Yeah, it's God's country down here, mate. I love it. But decided to move down just to try and pursue my career in AFL. I was probably at that age where, I suppose, in Australia, like, your draft age is around 18 or 17, 18, and I'd never tried my luck in, I suppose, at the highest level, and I was at that age where it was either now or never. So, I moved down to Perth with my partner at the time, Ellie, now a wife. Shout out to Elle.
Took the move with you, especially at 18. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those things. We'd only been together for about 6 months, so it was either going to work or it wasn't. But thankfully, it has worked out.
Yeah, bloody oath.
But so we moved down to Perth, and I played for Claremont in the Waffle. So the Waffle, for anyone that doesn't know, is probably what would you consider it in America? It's like our second league almost.
Yeah, I'd say like college is probably like the second league over here. It's massive. It's bigger than NFL.
Yeah, but we, rather than getting 200,000 to a game like the college football was, we probably get 2,000.
Still good.
But so I played for Claremont in the Waffle for 2 years, and then at the end of 2017, I was lucky enough to start speaking with a few clubs in the AFL. Kind of had a bit of a I suppose some news that, and a situation where obviously you don't expect to go through when you're 19, 20 years old. And unfortunately, just before the draft, my wife Ellie was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So obviously a type of cancer that affects your lymph nodes. For us, obviously so lucky to get onto it early, but having to make a decision of what to do, because obviously our draft, and similar to over in the States, you actually don't know where you're going to end up. So we could have ended up in Perth or Melbourne or wherever. So we were kind of in two minds at the time. After obviously hearing the news, I stepped away from the draft for a while, and we kind of had a really honest and open conversation of where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do and what was going to be best for us. And to this day, and I know this about Ellie, like, probably the most selfless person in the world, that to me, and I stand by that. And she kind of just said to me, like, this is your dream, this is why we moved down. It's going to be what's going to be able to support us going forward. We had a kind of decision to make whether I was going to go back into the draft or stay in Perth. we ended up staying in, and I got drafted over to Sydney, so the other side of Australia.
Complete other side, mate.
Yeah. So, on one hand, draft night was the best night of my life. Obviously, a dream come true. And then on the other hand, it meant, kind of heading over while Ellie was going through chemo and radiation. So, definitely a time where so many good things and so many unknowns.
I find it really fascinating the way that you handled that whole situation, especially at 18, because I know for me at 18, when I was playing rugby league and stuff, I did not handle things as probably maturely. I didn't have the conversations that I needed to have. I always sort of beat around the bush a lot, and that's what got me into a bit of trouble in the younger years. So to hear that you yourself and Ellie had these mature, what I would consider mature conversations around your future and what's best for you guys in a relationship is mind blowing. Where did you learn that? That just blows my mind.
Mate, to be honest, I would have been very similar to yourself at that age. Like, I think, and you'd probably attest to this, is like when you go through things, or when you are the way you are, I believe you get challenged in certain ways in life, and it actually forces you to grow up. And like I was no saint, believe me. I was, before that, like, and still do love having a good time with my mates and everything like that. And it was just one of those times where it was like, we actually need to stop here and make a decision that's going to impact us going forward. And I think at that time it probably forced me to grow up a lot. And probably before my years, I'd say.
Definitely. What were some of the biggest learning points you take away from that chapter of your life? Like, especially being 19, you entering the league and hitting one of your dreams and playing professional sport, but then also, you wanted to be that supportive partner. And I guess there's a lot of unknowns with cancer as well, right? Like, you don't know what the hell is going on with it. They can give their diagnoses, but it's still, every individual is different. So how did you sort of balance the excitement and everything like that, but also be present and, I guess, compassionate to Ellie?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. It was basically just being present and doing what we could and control. And I think from that kind of day heading over, it was so many unknowns, and that's how we had to treat it. It was, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, so let's go in with today and do the best we can with what we had. And fortunately enough, like the club, like the GWS Giants, where I got drafted, they're unbelievable club, unbelievable people, the support there as well. And we just chose to see it like that. Like, you've literally got to live every day like, we weren't to know what results we were going to get. We were so fortunate enough to obviously have the support around us both here and back in Perth that just allowed us to, kind of live like that. And just take every day as it came. And fortunately enough for us, Ellie was able to get the all clear after a few months and move over. So
How good.
As ever. Yeah.
And I see you've recently had a little boy.
Yeah, little Z.
Little Z.
He's about little Zio. He's 4 months old now, and he's just started teething, which is unreal.
Mate, fatherhood, how's that going for you? Yeah, not getting much.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Definitely trying to find balance with at the moment, which probably leads into where I'm at now with all my coaching and everything. But it's, I suppose, when you have a kid or make a big move in life like you have over in the States, and having a partner as well, having that balance just between family, work, obviously fitness and your other goals. It's definitely something that's like it is the best feeling ever being a dad. and constantly learning every day of how to be a better father and obviously husband, but
Yep.
also, still saying, so passionate about, what I'm interested in as well, because I do want to set, the best example for him and Ellie as well. And obviously, try and build my business, of where I want it to go.
Yeah, we'll come back to the business stuff because I'm very excited to talk about that. And there's so many questions I have around balance and fatherhood and business. But I don't want to also miss out on learning about your footy career as well. So obviously, you mentioned Ellie got the all clear moved over for you. So what was the football career like? Some lessons, I guess, challenges as well. Contact sport doesn't come without its challenges, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So like I said, obviously AFL growing up for me, it would have been, NRL for you.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does come. Yeah. It definitely doesn't come without its challenges, and I probably knew that coming in day one. I remember day one of preseason. I probably went out there trying to impress, and I remember the first drill. It was basically just quick hands, and I've blown myself up and won a bit of a recovery lap, and I was just thinking, I don't know if I'm cut out for this yet. Like, straight into a 3K. Like day one, I think I went home and slept for about 16 hours.
It's just, what was the level, like the intensity from going from obviously WAFL, which is the Western Australian Football League, to then playing the elite?
Yeah, it's obviously a massive jump in terms of like professionalism and your training and standards and everything like that. And it's a full-time job. Like you're there Monday to, basically Saturday, Sundays as well in season. But yeah, the training loads obviously increase so much, which, obviously being a first year, they're pretty good with, easing you into it in a certain way, but easing into it's, you're still rolling around, 30, 50K weeks, which to a runner wouldn't seem that much. But when it's, change of direction, tackling, a lot of it's sprint work, it's quite high.
Oh, yeah. That's brutal.
So yeah, I think I was sore every day for about the first 6 months.
I love that. I remember when I was playing footy before I moved over to Europe, it was when I was 17, so at school, and then we're playing rep footy and stuff like that, and you think you're the Ducks nuts because you stand out there. And I remember because a few of us went to like look at NRL clubs and all of that sort of stuff. And I went back to the local club in Toowoomba, and I still remember I was like shopping around for clubs. This is how fucking arrogant I was back in the day. And we went to all the different clubs, and they're like, "Yeah, we can, this is the deal." And I remember talking to the captain at one of the clubs, Sam Hannett, and he's a good mate now, but he would have been 28 and I was 18, 19. And he's like, "Oh, mate, we're really looking forward to having you at the club and everything like that." I was like, "Mate, I'm just seeing how much I get paid first before I decide." I remember saying that, and like I laugh about it with him now. I'm like, I was such a little, like my head. I wasn't doing it for the right reasons because I was back home. I was just like, "Oh, may as well make some money." But then you realize as well, even at that level, they belted me. Like you're 18, you're still not fully developed. You've got a lot to learn, and I think that's a lesson I've learned for life is whenever you think you've got something put together or figured out, you're literally one step away from a humbling experience where you're like, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, I couldn't agree more. When you think you've got it all sorted out, I think that's when you need to start worrying.
Yep. Oh, bloody earth. So, yeah, after your first 6 months, you started to settle into it a bit more and feel a bit more at home?
Yeah. So a few months, obviously, of pre-season went past, and it was getting pretty close to the season. I think it was the week of round one when I found out I was going to debut. So, as you know,
mate, talk us through that, dude. What was it like? What was it like? Just because for those who as well aren't really, there's a lot of Queenslanders who would disagree with you and say rugby league's better than AFL. But as a rugby league dude, I love AFL, especially when you see it live. It's phenomenal. The stadiums are unreal. The fans are just so passionate. It's like the English football where they just really get around a club. What was it like for you running out that first match?
Oh, mate, honestly, like the whole lead up in that week, I remember hearing actually like inside the rooms that week that I was going to debut, and I got out and called mum and dad straight away. It was the biggest rush. Like, obviously, called mum and dad, rang Ellie, let everyone know. The press comes down, you do a big interview. Obviously, everyone from back homes finds out, flies over. So I suppose that week for me it probably hit home to just go, I'm actually going to debut and play my first game of AFL. Like, this is my dream. And if it meant I played one game, like, obviously, at the time, it's like, if I play one game of AFL, I'm going to be so happy.
Yeah.
So to know that I was actually going to play, like, the rest of that week, I was like, do not get injured. Just any body contact, get away.
Put you in bubble wrap.
Yeah, legit. So my first game was in Canberra because that was our second home ground against the Dogs or Bulldogs, and that feeling of running out. I had my family on the field next to the banner, filming me, and running through the banner. I could have passed out. But, yeah, I hope you don't watch the start of that game as well. I was pretty nervous. I remember one of the boys went to kick it to me. I had about 20 metres clear, and ball went straight through my hands. Went to turn around, run after it, tripped over.
Oh, really?
And then turned the ball over. So it was a good start.
Mate, the best, get those out of the way, get them out early in front of as many people as possible, and it's like only upwards from there.
Yeah. And I remember...
you go.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I remember at halftime, I was kind of looking around in the change rooms. We had our forwards meeting, and Jeremy Cameron, as you'd probably know,
Cats man, mate. Yeah.
Yes, the big larrikin. So for anyone that doesn't know Jezzy Cameron, he's a all Australian AFL player who I was lucky enough to play with and very good mates with now. And he came up to me and we knew I'd probably be a little bit rattled, and he just said, "Mate, I've had halves where I haven't touched the footy at all, and then gone out and kicked 6 in the third. So it's all good." So I went out there, mate, and changed the mindset around and ended up being able to kick on myself. And I still remember that feeling like it was yesterday.
What was it like having Jezza as a mentor, or even just those words? Because one thing I am a big believer in is finding mentors to help finding those people who have the results that you want, and just small little bits of wisdom like that can really really transform your outlook and results on certain things. So what was it like for you having Jez doing that?
Yeah, honestly, it was awesome, and exactly probably what I needed to hear at the time. For me, obviously, coming in when you are so young, when you first get drafted, you're a bit like a sponge, and you try and take it all in. And Jezza was obviously I was number 17, he was number 18, so we shared the lockers next to each other. And everything he said, whether it was right or wrong, I'll probably listen to. And I spent a lot of time out in the boat with him fishing. So,
oh mate, what a dream!
Luckily,
YouTube channel's a good one.
Yeah. If you're not posting on that, get on the Outdoor Athlete.
Yeah, he's a good man. But one other thing you mentioned there as well in the beginning for you, just playing one AFL game was the dream. I'm sure once you got that out of the way, the goals changed. It generally does for all of us. What we now have is once what we wanted, and we always seem to. I don't know whether you took it for granted, but I know for me with my footy and everything like that, I definitely took it for granted. And even to my business now, the position I'm in, I'm like, this is what I wanted 5 years ago, and now I've got it, and it's not enough, and I don't do what I said I would do, and I have that. So from your career, did you experience that after that first game?
Mate, 100%. And I was actually going to mention that before, and it's funny enough you said it about the business as well. I think we live in this life of once we get somewhere, we'll be happy, or once we achieve something, then it'll be enough. But I think as people, we aspire to, so much more, and constantly looking to improve. And I think it's a great trait to have, to be honest.
I agree.
But also loving where we're at the moment as well, and loving the journey rather than just seeing it as an outcome. But I suppose to your question, it was 100%. Once that first game was done, it was very much to, all right, let's win a premiership. I want to be an All Australian footballer. I want to be the best forward in the game. So. The goalposts shifted pretty quickly. Also, still being so, in the moment and absolutely loving it, and knowing that my second game was going to be at the MCG in front of 80,000 fans. It's one of those things you kind of just you got to set massive goals, which I did, but also just like you said, just try and love and live in the present as much as possible and enjoy it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I find that when we're like constantly moving these goals and trying to stay present with what we've now achieved, for you, obviously, there's probably hundreds of thousands of Aussie kids who would just love to achieve what you've achieved. What advice would you have given to yourself, 18-year-old Zach? What advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, I suppose exactly that. Just don't take any of it for granted. Absolutely love every moment, and I think for me, I'm someone that's probably all in, like 100% committed on it. And I think if you get those opportunities, or even if you don't have the opportunities, make the opportunities. And don't expect that it's just going to happen for you. And it's so cliche to say that if you want something bad enough, you'll make it happen. Like I honestly truly believe in that. Like I think for yourself, like you've obviously just moved to the States, you've made massive risks in heading over there. Well, risks if you want to call it that, or
risks.
I think, you give up so much. Like I'm, living up in Dampier, moving down with basically $0 to my name, and it sounds like poor me or whatever. But and I'm not saying that at all. But to leave a stable job and life to chase something that you're so passionate about, it is the best learner and teacher. And I think if that's what fills your cup and that's what you're so passionate about, like you'll make it happen 100%. So if there's any aspiring young, footballers or, marathon runners or athletes, like just go chase it. Like who cares?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like the best failure is the best lessons. And when you're risking it, like on your own, I was thinking about it the other day. I'm very grateful that I didn't have this silver spoon handed to me, because you see some people who do that and they really struggle with adversity. And when you're taking the risk yourself, whether it is and the risk looks different for everyone. So when you're moving away from family or support networks, or you don't have cash with you, like that is a fucking huge risk. But at the end of the day, and I would say for most people listening to this, and I even said to myself, is that worst case, I've had some awesome experiences. I've learned a bucket load, and I'll be able to go back and crash on my parents' couch.
Yeah,
which hopefully doesn't come to that. But mum and dad, if you're listening, and I'm coming back, I'm coming back. Did you notice any significant, I guess, changes or shifts in your mindset when you went from obviously playing that first game to now I want to be the best forward in the game?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a tough one to obviously say without sounding too cocky, but I see it as like you've got to be confident. And my mindset kind of changed from being that underdog coming into, no, like I've got this. Like I'm meant to be here, and that's one thing that a lot of people go through. It's that imposter syndrome. I think, like you hear about that, where it's like, geez, like, I hope they don't find out that I'm actually not this good. Like I might have kicked 2 on the weekend, but geez, that was pretty lucky. Or to actually, like to actually sit there and go, no, like I've put the work in. Like I deserve to be here just as much as everyone else. And if my goal is to be, to win a premiership or be the best forward in the game, that's what I'm setting my mind to. And I kind of changed it to underdog mentality to backing myself in.
I love it, man. It's interesting that you say it sounds cocky, because I used to say that all the time. And I always, in the earlier days, even on the podcast or when I was on podcasts or interviews, I'd pre-frame it. And I think there's a lot around the Australian culture. I find it here in the US, the culture is extremely different with this tall poppy syndrome. But if you look at the most successful people in any industry, whether it's business, sport, creatives, they back themselves. And to the average punter, it's very easy to say, oh, they're cocky or they're up themselves. But in order to get something that you have not yet achieved, you have to back yourself, which means when someone says, do you think you can do it? You goes, yeah. When I rode 30 marathons in a row last year, I thought I'd have heaps of support, like from friends and people that follow me and stuff. And literally, I reckon I had a handful of people that were like, yeah, you're going to kill it. Even like one of my closest mentors was like, mate, I'll give you 7 marathons and you're done. And I was like, fuck. And then they're like, what do you reckon? I was like, I got it easy. I'm not even worried. Like, I know it would be challenging, but I've done the work. Like, I always come back to my certainty, and I would imagine yours as well, Zach, comes back to I know what I do every single day to perform at my best.
Yeah.
And because I've done the work, I'm very confident in what I'm going to, what my output could be. There's always going to be variables that could change that, but 99% of the time, it's like I've done the work. And if I haven't, I'm not going to say I've done it. Easy with that. So I think it's a interesting one for people to think about, is if you're holding yourself back because you're not projecting what you want or what you think you're capable of because you're worried about how people are going to perceive you, fucking drop it. So back yourself.
Mate, 100%. I honestly could not agree with that anymore. And like you just said, like you've set that goal to, run those 30 marathons, and you could have very easily listened to, what other people like along the journey have said, is he going to make it? Is he going to do it? And I had exactly the same thing of, you're a country kid, you probably pass your draft year. And if we choose to listen to, that and just be happy with, like you said, if he got to 7 marathons again, he was probably right. It is getting pretty hard, and just gave up there. But you've already set that mindset. The work you put in behind closed doors, like you said. And I think it's only up to us to, shut out half of that noise, even if it is coming from people that we care about so much, with all due respect, because, our closest, friends and family, they're only looking out for us. But I think, for high achievers or not, when we set out a goal, it's one of those things that we commit to. And I'm very much someone that, the way you do one thing is the way you do a lot of things or everything. And, I think you coming from a sporting background as well, you'd know that, when you say you're going to do something, you commit no matter how hard it gets.
Definitely. What was it like transitioning out of the AFL? Like, because obviously as well, when you attach, or not even attach, you give so much of your time and focus to something, it's very easy to, I guess, identify as that. Many people say, what do you do? I say, I'm a footy player. That's all I do. Like, I live and breathe being successful in football. So how was that? How was your, I guess, transition out of it, and what was that like?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I suppose for me, so I finished up playing the AFL last year. Obviously due to a couple of reasons, being, obviously injury, not playing much footy in my last 2 years. Unfortunately didn't get another contract, but looking at it now, honestly, the best, thing that could have happened, for me. and I don't see it as something that I look back at now and be like, geez, what if? I definitely did at the start, and probably due to that reason of that identity. And I think when you're playing at the highest level, and I suppose, you know, you're flying around in planes and, you know, getting flown to games. You know, you meet all the fans, you know, which I was lucky enough and grateful to meet, you know, so many great people within, you know, the AFL systems. And you identify yourself as, you know, a footballer or, you know, an NRL player or, you know, A-League, NBA player. And then at the end of it, at the end of last year, it was kind of like, who am I without AFL? Because obviously everywhere you go, it's, oh, that's, you know, that's Zach, or this is Zach. You know, he plays for Jerry Giants or West Coast Eagles. And after that, it was like, hey, this is Zach. And that's it.
Yeah, like, just like full stop.
Yeah. And you kind of got to introduce yourself as who you are. And ex-AFL player doesn't sound as cool as current AFL player, unfortunately.
Did you have an idea of what you were going to do next? Like, or did they help you with anything at the AFL on the way out?
So obviously, like, very supportive with a lot of those things, and I knew what I wanted to do would be in the coaching and mentoring space, but where I wanted to go with it, I probably didn't know 100%. So for me, I think the unbelievable times I had in the AFL, and to this day, 5 years, I'm so blessed and grateful to, you know, be in that system. The people I've met, you know, I've got best mates for life, and probably grown up so much in that time as well. And so I kind of knew with everything that I'd probably learned that I wanted to stay in that space of kind of helping other people reach their own goals and helping those, you know, going through adversity, really. You know, really step out of the other side, but not just step out of the other side, but be twice as good as they were mentally and physically, you know, to attack new goals. So that was kind of my big driver. And, it probably leads into a bit of, you know, why I kind of started my own business in that, and something that I'm so passionate about now, and really, you know, fills my cup.
So give us a bit more of a rundown of obviously starting your own business, why that was, I guess, the best vehicle for you. Because once again, you know, I know like a few AFL players and stuff, and their transition, they've gone into like employment or various other things because they're used to the structure, and you know, a lot of people like the structure and understanding what they're doing and the paycheck and all that. But you're obviously, when you start your own business, it's a bit, you can do what you want really, but your results are determined by what you do. So it's a bit hard to fuck around. You got to make things work. So how that transition, tell us a bit more about your business and what you've learned so far.
Yeah, I think exactly like what you just said. It's how much you put in, I think you'll get out. So yeah, my online business, and I do like a lot of in-person as well. It's a kind of like a coaching business with fitness, nutrition, and mentoring as well. And I suppose it started with just, I was posting a lot of my own kind of workouts and what I did day to day. Obviously, I love to, you know, still, you know, work out and working towards a few new goals, which I'd love to speak about, you know, very shortly, which I'm, you know, really excited about. But yeah, it kind of started out like that, and then I had a fair few, you know, people reach out and, you know, kind of be interested in what I was doing, you know, training wise. So I started, you know, obviously writing programs for those people, and yeah, probably thought, you know, I could make this work on a larger scale. You know, I wanted to do it right though, and not just have generic programs where I'd send them out and away you go. It was, I wanted to fully support everyone that I had on board, create an online community and team, and just, develop those relationships. So for me now, it's, I write a lot of fitness programs, more so hybrid. So, running and lifting, just because I
Good
see a
training.
massive, for me, I just see a massive benefit in it, and always have, between running and lifting, obviously coming from footy. And then, obviously nutrition plays a massive part in that, and obviously the mentoring space, which, you obviously attest to that, and, you're well above, so many in that area. So I suppose, an insight on, how you're going with that, it's probably, better to talk about. But, that's where my business is at the moment, and it's constantly growing every day, and learning with that. So it's exciting times.
Mate, I think it's very exciting. It reminds me a lot of myself. I was documenting a lot of my transition from after footy into what I was trying to figure out would come next. I had a bit of a downfall for a while, which was, I guess, relatable to a lot of people as well. But when I recognized that you could have something that you're extremely passionate about and were doing anyway, and you could get paid for it, and you could scale it to fit into, a pretty cool lifestyle, that's when I was like, this is the golden ticket. This is fucking awesome. I remember when I was finishing school and I was down the coast, between footy, mum's like, you should do a PT course as well, just in case it doesn't work out. And I was like, nah. She's like, go on. So I did that as well, and I was very lucky. But I always looked at training and coaching as a career for people who couldn't get real jobs. And I had like an 18, yeah, man, it's wild. 18-month window where I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And then eventually it just clicked, much like for you. And you realize I felt like an outsider for so long because I didn't go down the uni route, or I didn't want to, I did do a trade as well, but didn't want to work in that space. And then when I was just like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to stay fit and like help people live better lives. It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, it does.
Like, you've hacked the matrix. And then it's just like every other aspect of your life really picks up from that. But I think I love what you're doing, man. And I love when you see people who are focused on fitness, but also the mindset, nutrition, because I don't believe you can be successful in one of those areas without the other. Like, mindset and what's going on up here is so important for how you believe of yourself. Most people, I believe everyone should think of themselves as an athlete, because when I picture an athlete, I picture you, right? Like, playing AFL, it's like you're training well, recovering well, eating well, therefore you're performing at your best. So I'm like, well, if I want to perform at my best as a business owner or as a husband, may as well treat myself like an athlete as well, and worry about what I eat, how I recover, because I'm going to do all those things really well. And that's just that identity shift that, I think a lot of people lack when they're doing their training or when they're doing their nutrition.
Yeah, 100%. And I think for a lot of people out there, like, we're all athletes in our own right, and I think it's easy to compare. And like with social media these days and Instagram, we look on there, and I think the thought of comparison for a lot of people is why they don't start and just be like, how can I reach that level? And they don't actually think, like, we're all starting from a different position, and it's such a thief of like joy. Like, I even look on Instagram, right, and say I had a run this morning, and I know I'm building back from a stress fracture, but I'll see someone else do a 15K run, and instantly it's just wired in me to be like, ooh, do I go out and do another 10? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's one of those ones that you've got to set your own goals, and not that they have to be small or large. And I'm all for setting a massive goal and going for that, but setting your own goals that suit into what you're doing and where you're at, and not comparing, because like I said, we're all athletes and trying to find that balance. And I suppose for me now, it's trying to find that balance between my little boy, my wife, Ellie, family, business, and then also my new goals of wanting to be, and again, it might sound cocky, but wanting to go professional in something else, which I'm really excited
Dude,
about.
you got to tell me. I'm The suspense is killing me. What are we doing? Where are we at?
No, well, so there's a few things on the cards, obviously next year with Ironmans, which I really want to tick off, and also High Rocks as well. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I was going to do that. I flew to Sydney just before I left. I was going to do it, but I had the world champs in Belgium like the next week, so I bailed on that. But I wish I did do it.
Yeah, so that looks awesome. And mate, if it comes to Perth, you got to promise me right now that you're going to come over and we're going to compete in it together.
Yeah, mate, you would kick my ass, but I'd love to do it. I definitely will do it. That was my plan when we got over here because there was one in LA the other day and there's one in Chicago this weekend, I think. So we were going to just hit the circuit. And I was going to do a little bit of work, but just mainly train. But then I want to try and make the Aussie team again for obstacle course racing again next year because I feel like I've got unfinished business there.
Yeah, mate, I'm actually stoked for you, and I'm excited to see where you go with that as well because I think that it's something that I hadn't really heard of until speaking to you about it, and it looks so hard and so unique. It's not funny.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. But yeah, I think much like you doing the Ironman and then the High Rocks, I think High Rocks is what excites me most. But I also, when you get so close to doing so well at an international level or a national level, it's like you want to sort of complete that before you move on.
Yeah, for sure. And I've spoken to my kind of coach about this as well. I think when you are at the highest level, I said to him like I don't want to just go into these events and compete. Like I generally want to go in and I want to win. Like I'm not going into this Ironman to run sub 10 or race sub 10 hours. I'm going in it to run sub 8 and win this thing, or I'm going to this High Rocks event and I'm going all the way. And again, like it sounds so cocky, but I just think I'm someone that commits to it 100% and I'll have to. And when you downfall.
No, I don't think it's a downfall. I think, and especially when you've competed at the level you have, Zach, you would have so much data and such a good understanding of how your body operates that you would be able to, even if you haven't done the sport, there's things that you can times, for example, with the Ironman or splits for the fucking High Rocks. Like I've worked out all of that and I've never done it. And I'm like, I know I can do this split. I can do this split. I can do those splits. If I can put it together, I'll be competitive. And so once again, I could be completely mistaken. However, knowing what I know about my body and the numbers that I've got from all the years of training, I feel pretty good about it. So therefore, I carry that certainty based off the experiences that I've got.
Yeah, and mate, I think it's the best trait to have. Like, why roll into an event that you've half trained for and not knowing, being happy with coming, I don't know, 100th. Like I say this with respect. Like people that go into marathons, like 100%, that's you versus you. And a lot of people will race for a time, and I 100% respect that. But yeah, I think for myself, it's more going in there to win. And making sure that when I am training for these events, it's going in there to do the best I can and not just taking part.
Yeah, I think for example, for someone like yourself or myself or anyone who has competed at a top level, we have an understanding of what the top level's like, and there's talent there as well. And so if you maybe have, for example, me with the guitar, it's already gone, but like me trying to play music as opposed to my wife who does it for a living, it's chalk and cheese. So I don't play to go, I'm going to be one day rocking out a stadium or whatnot. I'm just happy playing in the guitar, in the lounge. So I think people sort of set that based off the experiences that they have. So when you're, I love the fact, like nothing excites me more than people like yourself or myself when you finish one career. It's like there's opportunity to go pro in something else. It's not like you're done. There's the next thing. I think that what you've experienced put you in a very good position to clean up in these next, goals of yours.
Yeah, mate, for sure. And actually, I wouldn't mind hearing you on the guitar just quietly. See how you go.
I don't want to embarrass myself. Amy was trying to film me last night, and I was just like, nah, it's my little private thing. A little bit of cozy by myself.
Yeah, Lukey Combs, mate. I was just listening to him this morning. He's is he playing over there recently?
Mate, he lives in Nashville. He does live in Nashville, so hopefully we'll connect while I'm over here. That's the plan. So we'll see what happens.
If you get him on the podcast, I'll be on there as well, please.
Mate, yeah, it's definitely. I was having. Well, no, we're at where were we at the other night? Oh, sorry, my wife had a showcase the other night, and we were there with one of the biggest producers, Lindsay, and he's written a lot and produced Nate Smith. I don't know if you know Nate Smith as well. So he's blowing up as well. Check him out if you haven't checked him out. Anyone who's listening who hasn't checked out Nate Smith, fucking awesome. So he was my top 4 in Spotify this year, and Lindsay's, I was like, oh man, Nate was my number 4 this year. He's like, dude, I'll get him on the podcast. Like, he's coming around next week. I was like, fuck yeah. Link. And that's how it starts. It's just like, that's why I love having a podcast. You get to meet so many cool people and learn about their life and their stories, their challenges, and all of that sort of stuff. But not enough about me, man. Back to the goals. So obviously you're wanting to do well in Hyrox and the Ironman. Which goal's the priority at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment, I've just come back from my stress fracture. So building back into running, which I've absolutely loved. I've probably spent 4 months off legs. So there's a lot of upper body conditioning. So now that I'm running again, I definitely think once the date comes out for the Hyrox, that's going to be my priority.
Right.
The Ironman's actually, the Busselton one is tomorrow for this year, which obviously I won't be competing, but my coach is, so I'll be cheering him along. Shout out to Corey Green.
Yeah, Corey.
Yeah, go Greener. So yeah, I think that's more of a personal one that I want to do next year.
Yep.
But yeah, more closer term, it'll definitely be the Hyrox event. So yeah, that's going to be my priority. I feel like I think obviously we've got our strengths in different things. I feel like that's going to be that'll be my strength per se.
Mate, I've seen you running. I feel like AFL athletes are destined for fucking Hyrox. Like, you just your lungs and your aerobic capacity, and I guess even your anaerobic, because you bloody do 50K a week of interval training essentially. Like, that's just got you primed for this event.
Yeah, I feel like we're just like, when you train for something for so long, that becomes what you're kind of better at. But in saying that, like, I look at the other events that CrossFitters do, and they are probably the fittest athletes in the world, sorry. And looking at them power clean, 150 to 200 kilos, like, I'm so far off that it's not funny. So I'm staying in my lane there.
Yep. Yeah, my buddy. Do you know Jack Frost? He used to play at Collingwood, and so he's a good mate of mine. And he's actually doing CrossFit now, but I was trying to get him into CrossFit years ago when I was doing it. And he came to a session when we were down in Melbourne. I was down visiting him, and same thing. Like, he's fucking 2 meters odd tall, so trying to watch him do a power clean was like wild. But he's into it now and loving it, which is good.
Yeah, it honestly looks like one of the toughest. I haven't been to a CrossFit session ever.
I do. Get into it.
Probably a little bit, mate. I'm nervous to head down there and just do my first 50 kilo power clean in front of, this, whole team that's power cleaning twice as much. So I'd have to do it with a bit of confidence, I think.
Mate, it's humbling. And what goals do you have around the business now? So you have shared a bit about how it works, but where do you want to take it?
Yeah, so with the business, I feel like, obviously, I want it to be my full-time job and something that I can really reach out to as many people as I can through inspiring. Like, obviously my content. But in terms of like the business aspect, yeah, I want to grow it to a point where obviously I can still be in touch with every single person that I've got on there, a part of the team. And then to a point where, like for now, my goal is to create a community in person, like a Saturday run club, which I'm going to announce next week. Starting next Saturday,
Cool.
Get down to Sorrento Beach Club. We're going to start off with a 5 o'clock run.
Yeah.
Build it in slowly with the crew, and then, yeah, to be honest, I'd love to see nothing more than 200 people running down Scarborough Beach Road along the coast and having a swim and a coffee afterwards. And just, I feel like we can be so money and goal orientated where we forget about the people around us and actually having an impact. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to ever lose that in just chasing building the business. I want to make it the forefront of it, actually creating and keeping a good community, and just meeting so many different people. Like that's my goal, to be honest.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges I've come up with. Businesses, the community is what drives our business, and that's the best part. Is I don't necessarily have to be the one driving that, but as it gets bigger, it's harder to keep that one-to-one with everyone, which is one of the downsides. But I also know the value of, like, as our community grows, the value other people get, because we obviously link people up with people they can get value from and support as well. So that was definitely one of the challenges I probably still do face. Like this whole year, I've been so focused on the business that I haven't been able to be in it with the boys as much. And you miss out on a lot of stuff, and you're sitting there, you're like, fuck, I built it because I wanted to be in it. But also then there's other responsibilities that had to be taken care of as well. So it's like I completely can relate to that, where you want to make sure that you're still involved and part of the community as well.
Mate, it's a hard one to juggle, isn't it? Like the more you put into something, the less you're putting into something else, like another aspect. And
100%.
Although you're trying to, not put all your eggs in one basket, it's, we've got so many different things. It's like anyone, you got family, you got business, you got your fitness. Yeah. And when you're putting so much into one, which I think is a big thing at the moment, like obviously another one lacks a little bit. So
you said something.
It's a good one to find that balance.
100%. You said something earlier, whereas like you would go all in on something, but I also know when we're speaking throughout the week, you were saying like there's a difference between all in on something and then consumed 100%, and that probably ties in and gives a bit more insight to work-life balance, or those blokes who say I'm all or nothing, whether it's with the booze or with training or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Oh, mate, this is probably the biggest one for me at the moment, is especially with having a young family, and you see so many people as well, I think, doing the same. And I'm not going to take credit for this because it's actually something that I've heard from, I'm sure you've heard of Nick Bear.
Yeah, mate, he's in Nashville too.
If you can get him on the podcast, he's someone that I look up to a fair bit in terms of his training, but more so mindset and just like his vulnerability. And I actually heard this from him with a lot of his preps and a lot of my preparation. There's a difference between being 100% all in and committed to something, or all consumed. And I think the difference between that is, that I've found, is 100% all in is, so I'll start with all consumed. 100% all consumed is having tunnel vision almost on a goal and delving so much into it that, with your training, nutrition, when you get home, it's all you can think about. It's, you're not finding time for, your family or other aspects of your life that are so important. It's not being able to switch off when you're with your family, or with your mates. It's not being able to go out for dinner and enjoy something that's out of routine. Whereas 100% all in is committing to your training, 100%. It's eating well, and doing all the right things, but knowing when, you come home, that's family time. That's being human. It's being able to go out with your wife like I am tonight, 2 years anniversary wedding. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's get it.
And, being able to enjoy a wine with Elle and, being out of routine, you know what I mean? And I think it's something that, I won't lie, I juggle a little bit, and definitely getting better at. But I think so much of us out there, like especially leading into Christmas, and like a lot of my clients are like, oh, I know I'm just going to treat myself over Christmas, so I might just stop now and get back to it in January. But it's like, well, if you're 100% all in, let's train up until Christmas, and then let's have the break, and then get back into it. Not all my work's going to be undone, so I'm just going to stop now.
And start again.
Come Jan 1, it's all right, let's go.
Yep.
Important one, I think.
So, Zach, where can people reach out to you? Obviously, one to follow along, because I do literally, before we were even on the call, I was like, what time is it over in Perth? Because you're already out running. I was like, bloody hell, he's up early. So for me, it's like I just get up, see yours, and then I'm like, right, I put my boots on, let's go. But where can people find you?
Yeah, so basically, probably the easiest one's Instagram, and obviously just Zach Baynton _. I've got my link on there for anyone that wants to reach out, really, or just message me, DM. I'm happy to respond on there, to have a chat about, anything, fitness, health related. And if it's something that you want to dive into, I'm more than happy to do that. But that's probably the best time. I know Instagram's a bit, what you see is not what always you get, but I think I'm just going to continue to try and post authentic, I suppose, content that, really works for me and hopefully helps as many people out there as possible. So Instagram is probably the best one at the moment.
Awesome. For those listening along, I've put all the the links to Zach's profile and coaching and all of that in the comments there, so you can just click that. But mate, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure and great to hear more about your story and some mindset shifts. I think I've got a heap of notes here as well. Some important things that I hope really land for people to help them start making some changes in their life.
Yeah, mate, I honestly appreciate you having me on the podcast. I hope today's inspired a few more out there, whether they reach out or not, or just, to get going or go another, step, or just commit to something. But like I said, mate, I appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome to have a chat, and excited to see where you're going as well with everything.
Cheers, mate.